I landed on the side of my face.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened. I used to be very tall and handsome.
I said, listen, if you can do this, you're going to go into your first job interview, and you probably won't even have to play flute for them.
I bet
The Minnesota Army National Guard has a band, and a lot of people don't know that. There are 50,000 plus soldiers that are Red Bulls. The high school level, we're thinking about curriculum and teaching kids music and advancing where they are. But very little of what we think about at the high school level is entertaining the audience.
Right. A lot of people do think that you live together.
Yeah, a lot of people do. And we don't necessarily dissuade them from thinking.
No. There's Mary, I mean, you could be a 90-year-old fragile falling. Mary would think it was funny.
Yeah,
I could hardly breathe.
Landed on her face, and I could hear her land on her face.
We did like Pirates of the Caribbean, and we decided to have a cannon shoot off, which is frowned upon in the schools.
I mean, why wouldn't
Thanks
you?
a lot.
You're going to make me cry. I said, no, you're going to make yourself cry. I'm just going to be here for it. Welcome to the Princeton Podcast, your go-to source for everything happening in and around Princeton. Join your hosts, Zach, Mary, and Kim, three locals who live and work right here in Princeton, as we bring you the latest events, exclusive interviews with local businesses, and stories that make our town special. Your community, your stories, your podcast.
All right, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us, Baxter and Mo.
Woo woo.
Good morning.
Ole.
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 Ole. Hee-haw. And
That's from earlier. That's the outtakes. What is
Yeah,
that?
don't watch the earlier stuff. It's unedited.
so
Hey, we're
Thanks
glad
for
to
having
be
us.
here. Go Tigers.
go Tigers. So you maybe both are probably the most well-known around Princeton for being the choir, high school choir, and high school band directors. So how long, Charlie, how long have you been doing that?
At Princeton? Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I just finished year 8.
Really?
Yeah, this is the 8th year here.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long have
it's
you been
just-
teaching, though?
I'm 15 years. So I did 3 years in Southwest Iowa, and then I escaped. And then I was in Hutchinson for 4 years, and then
Once they fired him, we took him.
once they fired me, then I saw
15.
the light, and I came here in 2017.
I saw the light.
And you're a Princeton grad.
I'm a Princeton grad, 2004. I want to say that like I was 100 years old.
Yeah.
2004.
It was
Yeah.
just the turn of the century.
It was. It was. Yeah. I was born the 20th century, the 1900s, as the kids like to point
Many
out.
moon ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, and so I'm a 2004 graduate, and it was nice. They kept the building the same.
Yeah, they sure did.
They changed a couple of things. So it's nice to be back. It's kind of cool, actually, because I find that I enjoy living in Princeton more now as an adult than I did, growing up here.
Right.
And I would not have necessarily ever considered going back to my hometown. People go, "Oh, that was like your dream, right?" I'm like, no. No. But I really like it a lot, and there's something to be said for having kind of a different role in the community and living in town. And the school doesn't really feel like I went there. I recognize it, but it doesn't feel the same.
Right.
Most of my teachers are retired, from work, or they're just gone. Or this mortal coil.
Life.
I'm
But,
new.
life.
Yeah. No, so it's a different thing. There's a few
killed
teachers that are still there.
Yeah.
Thor Maddock was there. Heather Sorensen is there. She's been teaching for 75 years.
Yeah, they're all
Heather. Oh, yeah.
curmudgeon, to say the least.
I mean, I'm a new member of the Princeton Lions, and I am sitting alongside many of my high school teachers in the Lions.
You're from here too? Oh yeah, duh.
And the school,
Yeah.
I graduated
Wow.
in 88, and the school is still the same.
Almost.
We had a parking lot
Yeah.
a couple years ago.
There's a
Yeah.
new gym.
Parking lot, new gym, and the PAC Center was not there when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
That was built when
92,
I
I
was in elementary school. I remember watching them do that.
And we were, I went to junior high, as it was called then, at the fitness center, where the fitness center is
Oh yeah, I
now.
went to middle school there for
Yep.
a little while. Yeah, that was a fun place. You could put a ball on one side of the room and just watch it roll to the other side.
Yes.
It was made of matchsticks and.
Why did you go there?
Yeah.
I would, because that was all that was there.
You must have only went 1 year.
No, I went for 2.5.
No
you
way.
were the class that moved?
Yeah, I moved halfway through 8th grade. Yeah,
Oh, so you were the very first class in the new middle
I
school.
was. Yeah, I was.
Oh.
Yeah, and so that was. I fell down the stairs of the old one once. I didn't. Falling,
should have been used to it by then.
Falling down the stairs sounds like I actually hit the stairs. I didn't. I was on the top step, and then I was on the ground. I kind of jumped. I knew I was falling.
Was it the stairs that were like kind
It
of
was one
wider?
in the corners. It was one of the
Yeah,
ones because they were
they're
the
all
same
in
in
the
the corner.
corners.
Yeah, they're all in
Yeah.
the corner.
Yep.
And so
Creak,
I just
creak,
went
creak,
and I landed on the side of my face.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened. I used to be very tall and handsome, and now I'm just handsome.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And there was also the tunnel, which is
We
still there.
weren't allowed to go down there.
Well, did you though?
No, I didn't. I
He's
was a
a rule
good kid.
follower.
I wasn't a hooligan like you, Kim. I wasn't.
The tunnel.
I don't
Oh,
know.
your class was a bunch
Stealing?
of hellions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were. So.
That was the 80s.
Yep, that was the 80s.
Yeah,
Good old
man.
80s.
Wow.
Yep.
I've heard about it.
You've heard of
Yeah,
No, I was
I'm
there.
sure I've
You
heard
were
about it.
there.
I'm sure. So, Jim,
Still
how long
there.
have you been in Princeton and teaching here?
I've been here 18 years. I just finished my 18th year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was my first job. And
Oh,
probably
really?
my last one. We'll see. I mean,
That'd
even
be
the
cool.
principal says if you haven't been fired yet, right?
What do you mean you will see?
No, I'm just kidding.
It's only
yeah,
a matter of
it was
time.
exciting.
It's on borrowed time, borrowed professional time. You can only have so many letters in your file.
I got 2 files now. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 years. And so it's been exciting. Came in with Mark Potvin was here and Lee Peterson was here 2 years before me. So I think we had that turnover for a while where it was like, Lee was here and then he was gone and then he was back. And then someone else was here. I don't remember who, but the constant was Carol Phillifer at the middle
Yep.
school
Yep.
and Jane Miller. And so Carol really, is the reason the music department or the band side of the music department is so solid forever. And so I got to work with her for a number of years and it was awesome. And the high school played at the state conference and the choir sang the same year. And then a few years later, we talked Carol into having her 8th graders play there. She did not want that attention, but it was awesome. And then she retired. And so we hired in 2019, I guess, Matt Pham came in, and it was interesting because that's kind of the roles switched. Like,
Right.
you look around, all of a sudden you're like, you're the old person
You're
that's been around
right.
forever. Like, I guess I should figure this out. And of course, we kicked Mark out. We sent him to Iowa.
Yep.
So he's not allowed to teach here anymore. No, he
Well,
I should say, since people don't know, he works at
don't know.
Luther College.
Yeah,
he's
he's a-
Dr.
yeah, he's-
Mark Potvin.
yeah,
but I like
he's-
to tell people
Yeah.
He's
that.
very
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah. And nobody would take the job. So we ended
Yeah.
up, no, I was kidding. We hired Charlie.
He's open.
And it's been fun. Charlie and I have known each other, though, a long time. I think the second year I was teaching here, he came back as an alum for our variety show.
Yeah.
And he wanted to play harmonica solo. Mark didn't play guitar. So I was like, yeah, I'll play some guitar. And that's when the magic started happening.
Seriously?
Yeah, we did some Neil Young. Yeah, we did Hey Hey My My.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we've known each other for a long time. And then
Oh,
when
funny.
And
when
I'd
he
met
applied,
you even before then, but that was
Yeah.
it wasn't as, that's not an interesting
And so
story.
I didn't think it would.
I bet it is.
It's not
Very
a
not.
podcast story.
Yeah, it's not a podcast story. No, I was at my sister's grad party. So,
Oh.
yeah,
Wow.
stop the presses.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
how funny it is. His
Oh, I had
sister
no
was a
idea.
student of mine.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so, yeah, that's how close.
Yeah, it's
that
very
happened.
close. I think, yeah.
First, 2009? Must have been nice.
Yeah, she was a 9 grad.
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
I was in choir and band, and I don't remember working at all actually with the high school when I was in middle school as a student. So was that kind of a carol?
Well, we don't. We
Okay.
still don't much. Part of it is the location. I would love to work with the middle school more.
But you
But
do. I mean,
The,
Well,
the blasts.
well, we
the
do-
band
we
Publicly,
do
it
blasts.
looks
some
like
things.
it. Yeah, we do band blasts and we do all city, those huge
Yeah.
events.
But I mean that's performance based. Like really, if there was an easy way to get high school kids into a middle school rehearsal on a semi-regular basis, that would be. I mean that's
That'd be
awesome
awesome.
because then you're building some connections, and
Yeah.
some of these students they say, "Hey, I know this kid in the high school," and they start to developing these cross grade, just kind of commonalities.
right.
But with scheduling and kids are in school, and
right.
the classes don't meet up. But if we could do more of that, like everything that people see, is always sort of the end product, but all of the really important stuff in kind of every metric happens before that concert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the All City and Band Blast will go on
Oh yeah, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
forever.
Band blast has gone to a kind of a 3-year rotation. We'll do the big one like we did this year that everybody expects. The second year is we either have a guest artist come in. Remember, I think you wrote the grant for the Copper Street Brass
Yes,
years
yep,
ago. So a professional ensemble or a soloist will come in to be featured, or a guest conductor, and they'll work with our students a few days leading up to it.
Okay.
And then the third one is a chamber version, so it's in the pack.
Yep.
So we still call it Band Blast, but it's we have a huge amount of folks that go to solo ensemble contest, and so Matt and then our incoming middle school director are big fans of involving chamber music, so pushing those students to play in small groups. We talk about, at the middle school, it's a band of like 108 or
Right.
something. It's insane.
Yeah.
So you're 1/108th of that, but in an ensemble, you're one of 5. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's just a different education approach. And so we do that a lot. We have a lot of that in the choir side as well, but we don't really have a performance venue. We go to contests, Minnesota State High School League contest, and they're judged, and they get scores, and they get medals, and it's exciting. But nobody ever really knows. There's
Right.
no
Mhm.
public performance. They're like, someone's parent will come in and say, "Yeah, they got all these medals we're hanging up at graduate. What was this for again?"
Yeah.
It's too bad because that's some of the hardest work they do.
I
And
was
so
at one
that's-
time.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember why. I think I had to bring Ryan to
Well,
a
you
track
can-
meet or
you can
something.
come and watch 'em, too.
It was
Yeah.
super interesting.
Yeah.
And then the judges give feedback, and it's great.
Yeah, and it's very like it's a really vulnerable experience
For sure.
for those kids.
Yeah.
I tell students
You know.
it's like a job. It's like your first job interview. They get nervous. They don't want to be there. They're dressed up. They've got to do this thing in front of people they don't know. They're getting judged. They're literally getting judged. And I said, listen, if you can do this, you're going to go into your first job interview, and you probably won't even have to play flute for them.
I bet maybe.
You probably just have to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
Talk.
And
Yeah.
so we talk. We make a lot of connections between what we're doing is teaching you a lot more than just the music.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I think that's the important stuff that we're
Yeah,
teaching.
But we do have to explain
You know.
that to them. And then we do
Yeah. It's
concerts.
Life skills.
Yeah, we do concerts, and that's cool too. But that's not the only reason we.
Yeah, the
No.
music is a healthy byproduct. You know, really, it's just kind of that's something I didn't really understand until I started working in Princeton. You know, there's this old adage, they say, well, I don't teach music, I teach students, and I use music, and I'd be like, yeah, but you teach music though,
Yeah.
right? And when I finally got here, I realized that the big important ideas are things like, show up on time,
Yep.
do a good job, understand that somebody else is relying on you to do a good job, and, be part of a community and then be proud of that community. And that's something that we're doing, in the choir and in the band. But that's not it's like the rehearsal versus a concert. That's not the part that everybody sees.
Right. And
know.
then you guys started a few years ago the Triumph.
Yeah, and that's
Music.
a national organization that existed, and Jim really kind of spearheaded that.
Yeah, it's a music honor society, just like if anything. And the difference is it's a service organization, but we use music. So we go to the Elam home, and we go to the middle school, and we go to the 5th grade beginning band, like they do a petting zoo. So you bring all the instruments, and like, what does this look like and feel like and sound like? So they know what they're doing, kind of prep. So that's prepping students for that, but also experience it. We have people sing, they do caroling, and they do these other projects.
Light
Or
Up
they'll-
Princeton.
Yep.
Yep.
And they'll do fundraising that'll go towards music scholarships and things like that.
So it's
But-
like NHS, but a music
It is.
version.
It's
Yeah.
music
NHS.
version. Okay,
And I
I
think-
did not. I always
And they
wondered
set
what
it
that
up.
was.
Yeah.
Yep, that's awesome.
And it's fairly difficult to get into. You have to have a GPA and a certain level that you have to fill out, apply, all this stuff. You have to meet all the requirements each year. You have to do
Yeah.
2 service projects, and you have to do a fundraising thing. And there's quite a bit to it.
Yeah, it's not automatic too. Like you have to maintain your good membership.
And if you have
That's
a bad
awesome.
year as a junior, you're just not in as a senior. And so
Okay.
we have, I think there are like 30 folks in that
Yeah,
each year or so, something like that.
They're good
It's a
kids.
size.
Yeah.
They are. They are. We're really lucky. We get, I feel like we have the top of the bell curve with students. And it's
Agreed.
one of those things. It's
Yeah.
like, and I like to say, choir is not for everybody, but it's for anybody. And so that's part of the fun of it. They're not necessarily all the same kind of student.
Yep.
And sometimes I feel like we'll get somebody who is very successful in our class and maybe sometimes struggles in other educational environments. Not necessarily like all of them, but a few. And
Yeah.
it's really fun to see, especially those kids, give sort of their best self.
Yeah. And, I remember specifically when you guys went to California and I was at the parent meeting and Ryan was my oldest going and, I was nervous. And I specifically remember you saying, at the end of the day, these are band kids. Like they're,
Yep.
they're not going to get in trouble. It's going to be fine. They
Yeah.
got in major trouble, but no, they didn't.
Just Ryan.
Yeah, just
Just
Ryan.
Ryan.
He's always been a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's bad. He's just a bad egg.
Yeah. Yep. You have 3. 2 of them are going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Ryan, a funny story about the All City Choir. He was in, what grade does that start?
It used to be 4th.
it used to
Okay,
be
I
fourth.
was
when he
going to
was
say
there.
4th
Yep.
grade. He was in 4th grade, so he was in choir just for a little bit of time. But he, we had to buy a white shirt. That was the instruction.
Yeah.
Say to come in a white shirt, and I waited till the very last minute. went all over town trying to find a white shirt the day of the concert,
Yeah.
and the only one I could find was a white shirt with stars all over it.
Oh no!
So that's what Ryan wore, which was super easy
One of
to
those
find
ones you
him.
get from sending in like Marlboro proofs of purchase.
I remember that.
So he was very easy to spot.
Yeah,
in
well,
the
that's good.
pamphlet,
Well,
or
that's the
the
reason
choir.
those kids are the only ones wearing white shirts too, because they're easy to find at the end of the concert. 'Cause they're
Oh,
the youngest ones.
yeah.
So you did it right.
Yeah, I mean,
Bravo.
and then I could see
It
him
lit up
during the
too.
whole. It was like, sorry, Ryan's the only one I can find.
That's funny. That's because every other fourth grade parent also went everywhere in town. That was
Yes.
pre-Walmart days, right?
Mhm. Yes, it was.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's
They
different.
Oh,
Yep.
I was,
Hadn't
was it
played the
Pomida?
opening.
I was over at O'Sell's and probably
Oh.
Pomida.
Pamanita.
Forgot about.
Pomida.
Oh my gosh,
So
Ryan.
the other thing is that
Yeah.
you guys are each in charge of other organizations. East Central Minnesota.
Kim's getting a call. Wait.
This is a call-in show.
Chamber of
This is a call-in show.
We should. Oh man, are we live?
Tell him his hair is real white.
So you are in charge of the chorale, and
Yeah.
you are in charge or direct of the Red Bull Band. So do you want to start?
Yeah, so the East Central Minnesota Chorale is something I do, and I'm the artistic director of it, but there is a board, and there's a president and a vice president, and so it's a group that's based out of Cambridge, and it's a civic organization that's existed since.
Jeez.
Somebody wants to ask.
Ryan's like,
Yes.
don't tell him about my
Don't
shirt.
tell
with the
him.
stars on it.
That's really embarrassing.
Come on, my friends watch this podcast.
Did I call you in time? It's a community group. It was started in 1981, and they're based out of Cambridge, and it serves sort of the counties from the East Central Minnesota area, and there's a few folks from Western Wisconsin as well, and we still let them join.
Oh,
Despite
seriously?
that.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't be in the name though. Anyway, but so
You list them in the program and everything?
I mean, we have to now.
Yeah, 8.5.
we have
whatever.
to now.
Just
We didn't
put
used
just
to.
put a star by their
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
An asterisk. Yeah.
Yeah. It says not from here.
He puts the ass in
But,
asterisk.
But so anyhow, I'm the fifth director of that group, and I started directing them when I came to Princeton, and so we even count the sort of the dark years during the pandemic where because we still had some output. We did like an online concert, which trust me is way more fun to do just like a regular
Definitely.
straight-up concert.
Yep.
Yeah, but I've really enjoyed that, and that's something that I've learned a lot just because when you're teaching high school, there's always sort of a refresh every 4 years, right? So you're always sort of getting a new group in.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this, you have some new membership, but there's also some people in there who've been there since 1981.
Right.
There's two guys that are a part of that. But so you get a lot more longevity and a lot more consistency. So yeah, it's a cool organization. We've got a website, eastcentralminnesotachorale.org. Every once in a while, we get emails from people who are interested in joining, and there's a lot of folks who I think don't even realize that we exist.
Yeah.
Come to a concert.
Yeah, where are the
It's cool.
concerts? Like,
They're
where do
all
you?
over.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Mhm.
All over
Everyone,
the state.
right here, right now.
Yeah.
Do it.
Can't you hear them? No, there's we usually do them. We do them in a lot of churches because that's a great acoustic for singing, and so we do a December concert, which is usually sort of holiday based. We also have an affiliate ensemble made up of high school kids from the same area called Unum Vox, which is Latin for one voice, and so we did. We did a concert at Christ Our Light, which is kind of the last one that is going to happen there for us because, they're moving and all that
Yep.
stuff. Yeah, and that was a great place to sing. It was really a good place to sing. But we've done it at Emmanuel. We've done it at Trinity Lutheran here in town. And then we'll usually do one in sort of the Cambridge area. We've gone up to Rush City, and we do that. We kind of try to hit those points and represent. And then we do a year-end spring concert in Bram, which is a dinner concert. So people can buy tickets for that. And that's usually a little more kind of a lighter style of music, And then in February we do one that's March time. We do one that's that is sort of, it's just kind of like a general choir concert. Sometimes we do what's called a master work, so we do like an extended piece of music that's by a single composer. We do like another kind of a themed thing. And actually, and we may get to this in a little bit more we can talk about now, but Jim and I have actually talked a little bit, we need to talk more about doing a joint concert between the East Central Minnesota Chorale and the Red Bull Army Band.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Because there is repertoire written for that. It's not always so easy to find. Because, if there's instrumental, it's usually like orchestral.
Yep.
But, I mean, they're a fantastic band, and so there are some of those things, too.
And we've
So
done that in the
it's
past.
yeah.
I think maybe 10 years ago we did a joint concert when Mark was here.
Oh, that'd be really
and
cool.
this would be just
Yeah.
a bigger presentation. I think we performed it in St. Cloud.
Yeah, and I think you
Paramount.
did. No,
Should
you
have
and
done
we
that on July 7th.
Yeah.
We are
get to that, yeah.
performing
Yeah. Yeah, you
around
are.
here.
So I would, highly recommend going to see the East Central Minnesota Chorale. They're very good.
Thank you.
You'll know a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
from Princeton in it.
Well, I know two for sure.
Yeah.
Who?
Brittany and Charlie.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a few other ones.
Randy
Did you ever
Hatch.
know,
Randy's in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy's in it. He's on the board. Yeah, Randy's in it. Ellen Sievert, who
You'll see him with
Frau
his hat
Sievert,
off. Oh, yeah.
she's
Yep.
in it. Actually, Randy,
Randy.
he's the reason why we were able to have the St. Paul Winter Carnival folks over, because he's in it, and
Okay.
so he's he's a huge
Pam
part of that
Wilhelm?
organization. Pam Wilhelm is in it.
Okay,
Yeah,
yep.
there's a lot of Princeton folks. Actually, both of the elementary music teachers in town,
Yep.
Julie Moore and Sarah Ryan, are in it, and
Michelle Skyme.
yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She was the president for a couple of years.
Oh, go Princeton.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've talked about moving it. No, we haven't, but it would be sometimes it'd be nice to, be a little closer.
'Cause
But
you
no, it's-
practice
But there's
in
a lot of
Cambridge,
people.
right?
Yeah, we practice in Cambridge, and
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's where it was started, and that's really kind of the best centrally located
Mm-hmm.
part. But for me, it's sort of exciting because I think on any given year, I think one year there were like 6 current or retired music teachers in there.
That's cool.
So I'm just, trying to pretend like I'm not a total idiot.
Well, Frank and Lowell have come to our
Yeah.
leadership series to present to our group last couple of years, and it's
Yeah.
been really interesting. And Frank kind of talked about how you always have your instrument with you when you're a singer.
You do,
and
and
which is cool.
And it's one of these things too, and it's and that's an interesting thing. There are certain things that change as a singer becomes more experienced, let's say. But like even like from just like a mindset perspective, there's still a lot of vulnerability, which and and that word often gets misconstrued with weakness, and that's it's not the same. But if you, and I speak from personal experience as someone who played sometimes just like I played a trumpet and I held a French horn, and if you're playing an instrument and you make a bad sound on your instrument, like you can go like, what's broken?
Yeah.
What's wrong? If you're a singer, you can't be like, oh my God. But you can't blame anything but yourself, and so that's a pretty scary experience, and it can be anyway. And so whether they're in high school or whether they're, we've got, gosh, I think she's, in the ECMC, the youngest singer is in his early 20s, and then it goes all the way up to, I think she's either 89 or she's in her 90s already.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't think she's in her 90s. Lynn might be in her 90s.
She
can
in
tell
one
me.
of the
She doesn't seem,
81ers?
if she's in her 90s, no, she's not. No,
She's
actually,
a young 90.
Yeah, she's a young 90. She kind of is, and so that's why I have trouble, because I know she's at least in her 80s. I don't know, but you'd never know it.
Yeah.
You really would never know, and a lot of for those people, like this is the thing they do.
Yeah.
You
It's
know.
cool.
You know.
Ann Munt, Steve Tao,
Oh, yeah.
Jake
You were just
Gruba.
thinking
Terry
about
Tao.
Thought it's some more.
Jake
Terry
Gruba,
Tao.
he's our youngest
Jake
singer,
Gruba.
and he was in the high school group.
Yep.
And so, he's someone who's actually kind of bridged that gap, and it's a blast.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
But and yeah, we're always looking. So if even people who we have people who sang, that's in some of the best college and university programs that you're going to find. We also have people who are like, I sang in high school and I haven't done it since then.
Yeah.
But they're all working on the same level of stuff. And there's some really challenging pieces in there.
Yeah.
And so what I would say, if anyone's like, hey, that sounds kind of cool, reach out. You know, if you have a son or daughter who's in the high school choir, you know, what a way to bond. You can connect. You can talk about you're doing this activity, and this, I mean, it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
And Charlie, your dad sings in this
He
group,
does.
Yeah,
right?
and your
my
dad.
dad sings in this group.
Yeah.
So I know that he's said a few times, it's cool is like the drives over there. Every
Yeah.
Monday night he
Yeah.
gets some, so I think of like myself driving with my younger kids. Like that's some of the coolest stuff you get to do.
That's
Like,
right.
You remember
Yeah.
those days, right? And so you just turn that around a little bit.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, in his case too, like you get to when you're in charge. You know, he has to see me as a different guy.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was a fellow who sang in there, sat next to my dad. This guy was like, I think a retired police officer or something. And he goes, hey, what do you think? He asked my dad, what do you think of the director?
Oh no.
And he's like, nah, he's not. He's just kind of a jerk. Actually, I don't think that's what he said, but I don't want to repeat it here. You have to bleep it. He's like, he's kind of, and he goes, oh, I thought he was kind of nice. He's like, no.
No.
And then he's like, actually, he's my son.
You don't really know him.
You know, but that's fun because that's, you know, and then so for me that's kind of a cool thing, you know. And so like when my son was born, we did a thing where like I had written a piece and then my dad had a solo in it, you know. So there's in that kind of ensemble, you know, it's a community choir, and that's two separate parts, right? That you have to sort of think about as one thing. Like there's the choir part, you know, and so if that's the focus, it needs to be a little bit in focus, but if it's the only thing in focus, then you're only worried about the music and you're only worried about, and then that's when, you know, there's auditions, and there are, but, you know, like there are groups sort of similar to that where the choir is the main focus. So that also means people are frequently probably going to get cut, you know, but there's also the community side of things. And so, which is where, like, this is a thing. Like I said, this is a thing people do, and they do it because it's meaningful, and they don't necessarily have to be there, because they're paying to be there, right? And so, to find that balance, really, what you do is, like I said, there are auditions, and not everybody gets in, you know, because you can't. We would run out of room,
Right.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, we'd run out of room, and
it just wouldn't be
you
as
have to
good.
think, yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
if
and it
you
wouldn't
just
be
let me in
necessarily as
there,
good.
it would be
Well,
Well,
we'll
there's
see.
the
You know,
balance issue
but-
too.
Yeah, you have to
you
have
have to certain
about the same amount of people in each section. Otherwise,
So are
have
you
a
looking
problem.
for specifics right now?
Well, we're always looking. Tenors and basses are
Okay.
usually the
That's
things
what I
we're
thought
looking
you
for the
were
most,
gonna say.
but not always necessarily. You know, because even if there's not a vacancy in a certain area in one season, like there's always the next year. You know, and sometimes that does happen. But really, the goal I have is trying to keep those people, and then try to make as close to, like, as high a level of music as we can.
Yep.
And that's a lot of work. You know, it's not just like a simple thing, but it's a you know, it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding work, and that's usually the rehearsals are usually more fun.
Yeah.
You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very
Excuse me.
cool. So, Jim, tell us about the 34th Infantry Red Bull Band.
You got it. So the Minnesota Army National Guard has a band, and a lot of people don't know that. There are 50,000 plus soldiers that are Red Bulls, and there's a huge history, the Red Bull division of infantry mostly, throughout the history of America, really, since Minnesota's been around. But we have a band, and of those 50,000, 40 of them are in the band, and so it's an audition process. We don't just take anybody. Usually our folks that audition in are maybe college students who are studying music, and that's, you know, because it's pretty tough to get in. Very rarely do we have a high school student that would pass the audition. The one I can think of is actually from Princeton, Danny Heck.
Yeah.
And he's a piano player. He's like a 4-time MMTA piano
Wow.
champion. So he was probably the youngest person. He was just out of high school, I think, when he auditioned.
Okay.
So I've been in the group since 2010. I joined the Guard. So when you're in the band, you got to do basic training. You do this advanced individual training and all this kind of stuff. And so you do all those things, and they call it soldier first concept. And so like 2009 to 10, they were in Iraq. They did 400 concerts in a year in Iraq. Like, they're on bases, they're traveling on the roads. So our job is to provide music across all entities. And so in a war zone, sometimes it's a little bit different world now as far as that. So it's a lot of, we're the state of Minnesota's band. Right?
Okay.
So I took command. I'm a warrant officer. I took command in 2017 of the unit, and I've been doing that ever since. And it's been great. And so the other thing people don't know is we have a concert band and we march, and that's what most people expect. So that's what you think of with an Army band. But we have 6 MPTs, music performance teams. We have an acronym for everything, right?
Yeah.
And the music performance teams, we have a rock band, and we have a country/pop group, and we have a saxophone quartet, and we have a brass quintet. And then we have soloists that sing the anthem or play the anthem. And so, for example, the Twins will call, we need an anthem singer. All right, we've got these 5 people, we call them up. Who wants to do the Twins game next Tuesday? So you show up in uniform, and you're going to sing the anthem. And so we call them missions. They're gigs, right? But that's what the Army calls them, the missions. And so we'll perform concerts throughout the year, but a lot of it is a small group. So we'll have soldier support is really the rock band going places. And so like we went for 2 weeks to Kuwait. And Kuwait is they call it kind of the truck stop of the Middle East. You all go to Kuwait and you get ready, you get used to the weather and you do training and you do all the stuff to go to somewhere else way crappier, right? So we're in Kuwait providing music. So that was obviously very rock band busy. The governor calls, I'm giving a speech on Wednesday and I want some music leading up to that, right? To kind of lighten the mood in the room. Or we have a cocktail hour where the Norwegian prince of some sort is going to be here and we're just, it's crazy what the government does you don't really see.
Yeah.
And so our brass quintet will go and perform in the corner of a room, we call it music to be ignored by sometimes, right? Or a ceremony, someone's retiring. And of course we have our buglers that do taps, which is one of our really, really important jobs as well. And so we provide music throughout the state in any military-based situation. And
This is, I didn't understand this. So you guys,
I don't either.
You
Or I
guys were
didn't.
basically, I was thinking that you are, concert performers, but you are, but
And
you're
they're
really
professional level too. I want to point that out. Like it's high end.
Yes. But you're like, you can be called, it's not like your schedule is necessarily set out for the year. You're called.
We talk about, so the Army's schedule, they expect our requests for payment and fees and things like that 2 years out, because that's how the Army does things. We need to know 2 years out, you're going to go to training in wherever you're going to go kind of thing. We can't do that. So we're constantly battling. We're this, square peg in the Army's circular, right? And so we try to plan out as far as we can, but we'll get a request from, for example, this year, Duluth's 4th of July Festival, right? They have the fireworks, and before that, they have music going all day. So they sent a request, said, hey, we'd like to have the Red Bull concert band here on July 4th, and I think we got it in, February. And so the Army would be like, great, February of 2028. Like, no, February of 2025. And so we have 2 full-time staff. So what we call M-Day is you're 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year.
Yep.
And as a commander, I'm an M-Day commander. So that's why I have a normal job, and then I do this. But we have 2 people that work full-time for the Army, and they're the ones that take care of the logistics of that. So they, because, we'll do a concert there. Well, we need to pay the people. We need to feed them. We need to get vehicles. We need to get housing sometimes.
Right.
What about instruments need to be repaired? And then on top of that, we have all the other Army requirements. So the first part of our 2-week tour, we're doing a North Minnesota tour the end of the month through the 4th of July through, I think, the 10th. And so the first day we show up, we do our PT test. And so we have all morning where we're running around and picking things up and putting them down and doing that kind of stuff.
Really?
So we have to meet all those requirements that the Army requires.
Huh.
And then once a year we go up to Ripley and we have to shoot. I have a pistol requirement and everyone has a rifle requirement. And we do all those Army things. And then we rehearse. Otherwise, drill is rehearsing music and performing.
Oh, wow.
And so our biggest concert every year is
Interesting.
usually the State Fair, the Liney Lodge. We do 2 days there. And that's kind of that outreach. So we're looking at soldier support, usually in other places, or retirements or things like that. And then family support would be like the State Fair kind of thing, telling the story of the Red Bulls and that kind of thing. And then there's, a variety of other missions that we do.
Very cool.
So the story of the Red Bulls. So the Red Bull is is Army.
Yeah, so the Minnesota National Guard is what it is. And then
They're all
100
called
years
Red
ago, I think in the southern part of the United States or northern Mexico, someone found a vase that had a Red Bull, a bull head carved on it, right?
Yeah.
And they just took that as kind of a mascot, if you will. And so a lot of the different Army units will have a name. We're all numbered, right? 34th Infantry Division. Iowa's the 34th, which confuses people, but it's not an infantry division. And so you'll see different logos and things like that. And that's just kind of the nickname is the Red Bulls.
The Red Bulls,
So they're known as
okay.
Red Bulls. And then the patch they wear is that bull head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's cool. And so you're going to be coming to Princeton.
Yes.
Here in not too long, a few weeks.
Yeah.
Things will be
July
figured
7th, I
out.
think,
July
yeah.
7th.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we're doing this tour. Our 2 weeks is usually a tour. So we're playing in Duluth and Grand Marais and Shoreview and other places. The big exciting one is in Princeton. And it's
Of course.
it's
Of
at
course it is.
it's at
Of course
Solheim,
it
which
is.
we're really
That's
really
awesome.
excited
Yep.
about. And so we talk about concert band. What it really is a rock band with a concert band backup. Is kind of what it is. And so it's
love
more
it.
of an entertainment concept. We talk about this, at the high school level. We're thinking about curriculum and teaching kids music and advancing where they are, and then we put concerts on. But very little of what we think about at the high school level is entertaining the audience.
Right.
If you come watch your kid's concert and you enjoy it, that's great, but that's really irrelevant to us.
Yeah.
But the Red Bull, we are there to entertain, or you think about your audience. If we're playing for a lot of Gold Star, Blue Star mothers, it's a different concert.
Right.
And almost every concert, no matter what ensemble, will end with a salute to service. And so, like in Princeton, we're opening with, you'd imagine, the Americana, that kind of thing. And then we have a rock band joining us. And we play, sort of like Devil Went Down to Georgia. We're doing popular music. We're doing a Toby Keith song. So
Fun.
it's not exactly like high school concert band like you think of it. It's
Yeah.
an entertaining event. Yeah. And then we end it with the salute. So any veterans who have served in peacetime or wartime, you're there. We ask that when we play your song, we stand up and we kind of salute you for your service on behalf of the state of Minnesota. And then we do Stars and Stripes, which is the national march and things like that. But what that always gets me, we've played, I don't know how many times I've conducted the Stars and Stripes forever. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
But
Enough to
the
do it in
Armed
your
Forces
sleep.
salute, sometimes I tell the soldiers, okay, we do this almost every concert.
Yeah.
They got this stuff memorized, right? And it's great. And I said, but this is every time you play, it's the most important time you play it. And to prove that, I remember probably my 10th or 12th year of conducting at the state fair, and someone came up to me and said, my father was a Vietnam veteran, and this is the first time anyone's ever said thank you. Because, they stand up, we turn around, and we salute them for their service and say thank you for that. And I said, so that's exactly it, because that kind of just feels like, we're doing it again. But
Yes.
it is. Every time we do that, there are people out there that don't get that. And we have to remember that. And it's interesting because in the Army, I'm 42. I'm really old in the Army. And so you forget these kids, it's
Yeah.
their grandparents are older. And
That's
so
right.
That's a really important part of what we do. And we're going to do that in Princeton and all those events when they come out. And so it's an entertaining show. It's a wide variety of music. And then, of course, we do that salute to service as well.
We're excited.
very cool.
Yeah,
and
so-
we're combining it with the 100th birthday of the American Legion baseball. And so we're inviting veterans. We're inviting past and present players of American Legion baseball.
Yeah.
There's going to be a dignitary from the American Legion coming up to say a little bit about the baseball program.
Yeah.
It's just going to be fun.
Now, will this all take place before the game or after
There's
the
no
game?
game.
There's no game.
Unfortunately, there's no
game?
game that night. Yeah.
This is the inventor
What?
of baseball.
Yeah,
Jebediah
they have a
Baseball.
game. Their game is the next day. Legion baseball is the next day. So
They
this
couldn't
is a
move.
Monday.
That's like,
I know.
It's
so, but
interesting.
it's gonna work out fine because
are you playing on the field?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
playing on the field right
You're
next to
playing
home base.
during the game. During the game.
We are the game.
Center field.
Well, it's funny because we never know what we're gonna get.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Most of them are built in. We're playing up in Duluth before the fireworks on the 4th of July. We're playing at 5:00. There's music from 2 to the fireworks. There will be a lot of people there.
Yep.
It's in Bayfront Park. Or we'll play at the governor's mansion or something. We don't really advertise, and
Yeah.
so but
Yep.
on AT we sometimes we're going to Grand Marais and we're playing the same concert set that we're doing here a couple days before at the folk house or folk school or something
yeah,
like
the
that,
Norris-
and they have
Norris
a
House Folk
music
School.
series, but we have no idea if there's going to be 20 people there or 200 people there,
Right.
and so it's interesting that, but we it's the same show. So if there are 6 people there and one person stands up during the Army song, and we salute them and thank them and talk to them after it. Mission accomplished.
Yep.
And if we go to the state
Worth it.
fair and we got thousands of people there and we're there for hours afterwards talking to people, mission accomplished. And so that's what's kind of unique about the
Yeah.
ensemble. It's we do the job and we just so in Princeton, who knows who will be there, but it's going to be the same show we're doing up in Duluth. And
It's going to be great.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, check it out.
We're really
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, so make sure to.
Yeah, I
Be
think
there
it's
for that.
5:45 on the 7th. It's a unique
Yeah, so
performance
5:30
time.
is
Yeah,
the-
5:30 is when the official. Yeah.
Yeah, is when we officially start, and then 5:45.
So the state fair, you said only 2 days?
There's a it's the Liney Lodge stage,
'Kay.
and we play 2 sets on Monday and Tuesday. I think Tuesday is like Military Appreciation Day.
Okay.
And so it's with that, but because we have these 2 weekends a month thing, that's our weekend.
Right.
It's Monday,
Okay.
Tuesday. And so we do because it's state fair and that's a moving audience.
Yeah.
We just do the same show. It's a 45-minute set. We have a half an hour off and we do it again.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that show changes every year. And so we've been doing that for over 20 years.
Yeah.
The same 2 days, which is a lot of fun. And what's interesting is I started teaching in 2007 and I joined the Army in 2010 at the ripe old age, like 28, right? So I don't think since 2010 I've gone to a teacher development day in August because we're always at the state fair,
Right.
which makes other teachers really
That's
happy.
true. A lot of people are like, hey, do you know where Jim is? I'm like, yeah. Or
He's at
even
the
when I
state
don't,
fair.
like, you know where Jim is? I'm like, nah, we don't, like, we just work together, right?
He wasn't at the home this morning
he
when we woke
wasn't
up.
at the
What?
home that we share.
Well, a lot of people do think that you live together, and
A lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of people do. And we don't necessarily dissuade them from thinking.
No.
No.
Yeah.
And we're not
Just
saying here that we don't.
right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you sometimes live together.
Someone's like, I knew it. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, so that's the deal. We're looking forward to the 7th.
Yeah, I can't wait. We're really excited. This might be a good time to take a quick break, and then we can come back and do some
Are there
personal,
sponsors?
funny stuff.
Like
Yeah, of
ads?
course.
Can I
Yeah.
read ads?
Yeah.
This is for
Chuck's colostomy bags.
when you need a big jaw with a job well done.
Is that not one of your sponsors?
Is
I'm
that
sorry,
it?
Chuck. That's
Sorry.
It's Daryl's.
It's
No,
Daryl's. Yeah,
real
you're
mad
right.
that we talked about Chuck's.
Yeah.
Hey everybody! July 7th at Solheim Field, 5:30 p.m. The 34th Infantry Division Red Bull Band will be performing a concert before the celebration of 100 years of Legion baseball in Princeton, and we're gonna have a special guest artist with us. If you've ever played Legion baseball or baseball in Princeton, or you're a grad and you're a Tiger forever, or veterans out there, we're doing a veterans salute as well. We'd love to see you out at the field at 5:30, and we'll have a special guest with us singing. Will be Mr. Charles Curtis Moe, Princeton's own.
Yes, sir. And so we hope to see you out there, and especially you. Yep, right there. We're watching. Yep, we can see you too. We love what you've done with the place. See you on the 7th.
That's how that works.
Howdy.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
And we're back
Thank you to sponsors.
to all these fine products and or services.
Yes. Purchase them now. Go Tigers.
Or
go to
them or hire them.
All right, I want to know about like embarrassing performances. Like, have you ever fell stepping up on like tripped and
That did happen at a
Anything?
concert
I know
that we attended
I
in
know.
Princeton.
What?
Yeah, do you remember the
It wasn't one of us, though.
not
It was a community
not
member.
saying
Was it the
anything.
kid?
it was a community member. It was the
Yes.
accordions.
What?
You
Tell me more.
We don't have accordions.
Yeah, it was
Accordion to
I don't
Kim.
even want to say her name.
Nice.
I
No,
can't
'cause we're
remember
on the-
right now.
we're-
You should say it
I
and give
know
the
who it
address.
was.
But we're not going to say. But yeah, so there was like an
Abby
accordion
Lowe.
performance. Let's just say it was Abby.
She's an accordion virtuosa, if you will.
Thank you. I will.
So it
that's
was great because she had
grammatically appropriate.
worked with kids to help them play accordion, and they came out. It was a middle school concert.
Oh.
And then she
wish I'd seen this.
came out and they did an accordion performance, which was really cool. But yeah, she came out
Those
and
accordions are heavy.
she tripped on the
Well, she was playing, and then she backed into the little podium that you stand on,
Mm-hmm.
and just went
Just wipe down hard.
with her.
Oh,
with
no.
her, and
yeah.
I mean,
I
I felt so bad, but of course, Mary. I mean, you could be a 90-year-old person,
you could.
fragile, falling. Mary would think it was funny.
Yeah,
I could
well.
hardly breathe. It's a disease.
It's a disease. I have had performances. My first year at the high school, this was not funny. It was terrifying. Piece of music fell apart in the middle of it, and we actually had to stop.
What do you mean?
Like we stopped the song before it was over
Because it was so
because they
bad.
just forgot what to do. Everyone forgot what to do. Apparently, I maybe mouthed some words I shouldn't have said, which I did not know I did. But like I didn't say them, I just mouthed them. They're fine. It's fine. All those people are adults now. But and so we actually had to turn. I had to turn to the audience and say, "We're going to start from here."
Yes.
And the kids were mortified, and that's a cautionary tale. And then
We've all had that.
Yeah.
Let's just stop and start over.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's happened. Yeah, it happens. Like I said, but they learned. That never happened again.
Yeah.
And then I won't say who this was because I don't want them to be embarrassed. It's not my story, but we were doing ECMC, and I say this because this person was fine. It was fine. They were fine.
Kerbo.
Is it your dad?
No, it was not. It was not.
Let's just pretend it was your dad.
I don't think I will. I don't think you want me to. But we were doing a piece by a French composer named Gabriel Fauré. It's called The Requiem, and it's a mass. The Requiem Mass is a mass for the dead. And there's some really intense stuff about like the end of the world, and it gets really loud, and there's like an organ playing, and like the choir is singing super loud, and it's kind of jarring and kind of violent. And we were doing a concert, and there was a platform, and then they were on the risers, and so singers were quite high up, and one singer passed out.
Oh no.
But really, she passed out, and she like I said, she was fine, but rather than passing out, she completely just ate it.
Oh no.
And she fell off the whole thing and landed on her face, and I could hear her land on her face, which was very scary. And the concert also stopped because I
was just gonna
went down
ask that.
And actually, then we started that, but we were almost done. So she went out and
Make sure she's breathing. Continue.
She was a doctor with some medical staff they happened to be at the concert, and they just checked, and she just had a little cut on her lip, and she was fine. But it was during this part about like everyone dying and the end of the world, and then I'm like, we have to start over, and I said to the audience, I was like, well, at least now you have something to talk about on the ride home. and the singers were like tuned in, man, because they were just like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I went up to her afterwards, and I was like, didn't have to act it out.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was
Don't do Carmina Brown.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, but so I guess that's kind of most of the concerts go really well, and nothing particularly interesting
I think
happens.
what people kind of from the audience perspective don't understand is every single time you perform, whether it's a professional group or amateur students, single one of those is a living organism. And
yeah.
Never goes as you planned, sometimes for better. It's one of the more frustrating things, like with the Army band. We'll rehearse and be like, just not quite getting where we want to get. We're trying to get there. And then the concert will be awesome. Because they have that next gear to step into, which is frustrating because you don't want to rely on that. But there have been plenty. Most of the time it's little things you don't notice. Maybe sometimes the ensemble. The high schoolers, like if something is going not so great, they'll kind of avoid looking at you.
Yeah.
And the adult groups will look at you like, "What do we do?"
Us.
Yes.
That's one of the differences between them. But yeah, every concert you do, even when you do multiples, like I said, we've done, how many Sousa marches have we done? Hundreds of times. Every one of them is different. And that's what's awesome about live music. And that's if you go to a rock show, if you go to any kind of concert, a choir concert, whatever it is that the music, they talk about the music's, you're part of the music while the music lasts.
Yep.
And how many times has an orchestra in the world done Beethoven's Fifth? I mean, I'll guarantee you there's something unique about every single one of those performances, which is what keeps it exciting and keeps people coming in and entertaining. But yeah, I don't have a specific story like that I can think of. But
You never had your zipper down in front of the kids.
We always check.
Yeah,
You have to check. It's a pre-concert ritual, man.
Yeah, one time I
gotta
did
check.
show up my tux. It's all black with black
Yeah.
everything, and I had my stupid bright orange lanyard hanging out of the pocket for the first. And afterwards, like Rich Philipper, I think it was, or someone came up between the bands. He's like, "I want to take your keys out your pocket."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, sorry."
Oh man.
Well, and even like I can remember specifically, I think it was Adam's band, and with Carol directing and Jane, and the percussionist was so off. I mean, when the percussionist off, it's like, how are you even? I couldn't even concentrate.
It does
and
happen.
Carol is like, as hard as she can direct, trying to get them back on beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carol used to tell me you only have to beat one student, but you got to make sure everybody sees it. That's Carol Philipper, everybody. She said that.
I'm
She did
sure.
not say
Yeah,
that.
that sounds just like Carol.
I feel like she came with two different shoes one concert
I could see
I
that.
think she maybe did.
and just
Yeah.
called
Yeah.
herself out right away. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kinda think she
Einstein would
did, too.
forget to put socks on in the morning. I don't know if
And
you
he
knew
was
that
a
one.
genius.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Carol Philipper is a genius. I'm not saying she's not.
That's
I've
right.
never seen her and Einstein together in the same place.
Huh? Well,
Maybe they're the same person.
Oh, she is the best.
Yeah.
She's pretty awesome.
She's one of my favorite Philippers.
Yeah.
Top 5 at least.
Yes.
Top
Yeah,
five.
I would
There's
agree.
4 of them.
There's
Greg
something
gets
else that I want to bring up because my son Adam calls it allegedly you blew the speakers out.
When?
Which time?
He says allegedly.
Oh, was that the big
Cannon.
the cannon thing?
Yeah, the cannon.
Yeah,
he feels
my-
it's alleged.
It is alleged.
It is alleged.
That's what you do when
It's
probably
false.
broke the law.
It's a downright lie. That's what
Okay,
it is.
so let's hear the lie.
Like what?
We did like Pirates of the Caribbean, and we decided to have a cannon shoot off, which is frowned upon in the schools.
I mean, why wouldn't
Thanks
you?
a lot.
Yeah,
I mean-
dumb.
Yeah.
Security.
And so we put a bass drum. We had a bass drum and took the bottom head off and put a mic underneath it. And then we had this.
Not a real cannon, by the way.
No.
I
And
just
so
wanna-
we made a fake cannon with like a smoke machine. And when you opened it up, it looked like it fired. So when that, I had a percussionist. When that opens up and the smoke comes out, hit this bass drum really hard, and it'll go through the house, and they'll feel like there's an impact.
Yeah.
Right? And so we practiced it, and it was fine, but it just wasn't powerful enough. And this was before we had anyone working in the booth. And so I'm like, well, it's on volume 3. Let's just go to like 6.
This is before Mr. Philipper?
Oh, yeah. Years before.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, just put it at like as high as it goes or whatever. And we never tested it. Well, apparently the speaker system is not designed for that.
For
and
cannonade.
whoever also, not only was it all the way up, but the kid beat the hell out of it. Like just like wound
let her
up. Like he
hammer.
might have jumped off
did
the
a good
ground.
job. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it made that. It was it worked because everyone jumped.
Yeah.
You know, we talk
That's what
about-
you want. You
That's
got to
what
have
you
a jump
want.
scare.
I tell people like if music.
Every concert
concert
should
you
give
need
you a
a
jump
jump
scare.
scare.
No.
Yep. I'm gonna have strobe lights. I'm not gonna tell you about it. Remember the seizure concert? Which one?
Yeah. This place is on fire. Just kidding. It's not. It's
Or
not.
am I? Yeah, that's the
Can't
story.
yell that. You
But
can't say
Oh
that.
my god.
I think the statute of limitations is probably up for that.
Well, I mean, you didn't do. I mean, what did they say? Like
Mark
you were
Potvin
too
did
loud
that.
for a second. Like
No, it
I
was
mean,
fine.
So, but that was not during a performance.
It
Oh, it
was.
was definitely
No,
during
it
a
Oh, like
was.
there's people there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, like it was full.
It went,
Yeah.
and then the speaker didn't work.
Oh,
But it was
yeah.
cool.
It was cool.
So if I can hear the speakers from the podium, it's pretty loud.
I didn't realize that it didn't work after that. I thought it was just like
Two of them didn't work.
yeah, it's fine.
You know.
So I have
So
three.
that's the alleged.
Yeah, that
Blowing
didn't
out
happen.
the speakers
That's what
for-
your son told me.
Yeah.
I wasn't involved
Yeah.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I think he did it actually.
He may
Yeah.
have.
It was his fault.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We forgive him. 'Cause
Okay.
That's what
Thank
you do.
That's right.
Which one of your kids hid in the cabinet?
Adam.
What?
Oh, I thought it was Ryan.
He might have.
Adam. During the sub in middle school.
Mrs.
Oh.
Philipper, yeah, when she was gone.
Yeah.
I think most of the day.
He was the
Yeah.
one she probably should have beat.
Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe she did.
She lied.
He
She
still
put him in
can.
that cabinet.
Yeah.
She took it.
He just went and sat in the cabinet all day.
Well, I mean, all day.
Wasn't it all day?
I
Pretty
would-
much,
He
Miss
could have
Sil-
just gone to a different class.
Right.
He didn't miss any notes that day.
Nope.
He didn't. That's true.
And that was fun.
Didn't make him.
You know.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a blast.
Yeah, I'm sure it
I
was.
should hang out in the cabinet all day.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Baxter's in the cabinet again.
Adam has the best stories.
He does. Yeah. So,
Oh my gosh.
where, let's see. Well, I think we've talked about that. Is there a song that you refuse to play anymore or sing anymore? You've just had it. I mean, you probably both want to, but
What?
People have asked that before. And there's some music that you just don't play anymore because of
Yeah.
the era it came out and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Or he's got he can tell you a story about the choir thing, but I talk about like the needs of the ensemble. So we play music, we pick repertoire based on the needs of the students and where they are, what they're learning, and
Right.
what we can do to connect it to the rest of the world and the rest of the things they're learning. And the band, on the Army side, it's what the audience needs. So who's the audience? Who are we playing for? What are they here for? What are they expecting? And you work it that way. And so I don't, I would say
Yeah.
this. It's not like I really necessarily enjoy. There isn't a piece where I just hate it.
No,
I've
you
done the
wouldn't
Stars and
just do
Stripes
it.
forever
Yeah.
a million times.
Yeah.
And sure, rehearsing, it's like, hey, we're rehearsing this dynamic contrast that I've rehearsed 850 million times. But you get to the concert and you do it and you're like, that's cool.
Yeah,
Like, you
because
stand
it-
up and people
Yeah.
like stand up and
Yes,
get excited. And
that's
so
cool.
having the feedback is a big deal. That's probably the one, it's like doing the school song.
yes.
We do the school song a lot. But it's usually because there's a touchdown. And so
That's
that's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So no, nothing's really bugged me that much.
Well, and that's, if there's a piece of music, and there are songs, there's pieces of music that you don't particularly enjoy, and so one of the things that we're fortunate with is that we just don't have to program them.
Right.
Because when you pick music, you have to, there should be something, you should like all of them a little bit. And so there's a piece for you as a director that maybe you think is a good teaching tool. There's a piece that the kids should jive about, which frankly works for adults the same way. And then there's something usually for the audience, and not everybody necessarily knows
Right.
what that is.
Yeah.
And it might not be what they think it is. In fact, we did a piece by Johann Sebastian Bach, who died in 1750 earlier this year, and there were kids that were like, "Oh, I really like that.
Yeah.
Their parents were like, yeah, they told me all about this. I'm like, really, that's the one. Huh?
Yeah, you weren't expecting that.
But at the same time, and some things, are sort of grandfathered in. Before I came to Princeton, when I was in Hutchinson, every spring concert, there were two pieces that always happened. One was awesome, and it was "He Never Failed Me Yet," and it's a party of a song, and we did it at our spring concert. We closed it this year, and like the kids, you can teach it in a day, so it's great, but the kids love it, the audience loves it, it's whatever, right? And then there was one that they always did, which I understand why they did it. It was I Am Your Child by Barry Manilow, which is, if you don't know it, that's fine.
How dare you?
I mean, yeah, it's
I don't think I do.
Mary's favorite song. She sings it to her daughter.
Mary Banilow.
Mary Banilow. But opposite day. But so, and they did it along with a slideshow. And there was always a senior slideshow. And the seniors had kind of taken over this slideshow before I had gotten there. And so I was like, yeah, so this is the senior slideshow. There's a picture of them as a baby. There's the name of their parents. There's their favorite memory in choir. There's how tall they were when they were 11. There's where if that time they went on vacation when they were 16. And it was all this stuff. And then a senior picture. And I was like, oh geez. And so we didn't do the whole thing.
Go?
Yeah.
Well, and it was a live. How long did the phenomenon go?
No, the song.
Music. Well, the song. The first time we did it. And it was all live, so there's a student piano player, and then they would get to this loop, and they would vamp, and they'd sing on ooh, and the slideshow went for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Went for 20 minutes, and it was almost done in shifts, because some kids would be like, I'm not singing anymore, and they're sitting in the dark, and so then the next year I got it cut to 10, and then it got even shorter, and then the new director was like, it's got to fit in 3 minutes, and so the slideshow was 3 minutes long, and now I think they just don't do that song anymore. I thought I was going to be out of it. The principal said to me before the concert, he was like, you got to stop doing this.
Yeah.
You got to not do this anymore. And then I was like, all right, cool. Yes, thank you, sir. And then they're 5 minutes into it that year, and he comes up to me in the dark during the concert. He's like, this is awesome. You just got to keep doing it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. We'll stop after your kid graduates.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was like, so it was, yeah. So there's things like that, but then you sort of, you appreciated it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, songs I wouldn't program again. Your Body is a Wonderland. No, I've never done that song. Never done that song.
We always
John
used to
Mayer,
sing
never done that song.
You'll Never Walk Alone every year at graduation.
Which is very cool. When we shut down, I found a recording. I happened to have a recording of the choir from 1968 when they shut down for COVID. And it's still up. You can see it if you want. It doesn't hit the same because it's been so long ago. And I think it was Mr. Beal or something was the director. And I contacted Jay Graham, and we made a video. He went out and took pictures of the school and other sites around Princeton, and we put that together with the text of it and with that, and we put that out online.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
And if you haven't seen it, it's worth seeing it, especially if you think about it in the context.
Yeah.
It was very cool at the time, But yeah,
And then, that was
that's
just always a great.
That's a great piece. Though.
That's a great one for graduate, and then we'd be like.
And it didn't take 20 minutes.
No.
Oh yeah, and we have things that we sing every year. And,
Yeah.
And there's kids just sobbing, and
Yep.
I had a student say, we were saying goodbye, and she goes, "You're gonna make me cry." I said, "No, you're gonna make yourself cry. I'm just gonna be here for it."
That was the end of that.
No, but it was. But kind of going back to some of the things Jim has said about, you're doing a piece of music that you've done 100 times or 1,000 times or whatever, and there's still somebody for whom that's their first time.
Yeah.
One of the things that we get to do is we have this art form that connects with a lot of people, and that's really, you're not necessarily going to be doing something from the perspective of a German composer who lived in the 18th century.
Right.
But my job is to try to help you find a way to understand who they were, or to find something that you can connect with. In some pieces it's easier, in some pieces it's more difficult. And I'm the kind of person that I'll like a song if I like one moment of it. If there's one chord that I'm like, that moment's cool, then I want to do it because of that. And if I can, we get to, in this, and with, you can plug a prompt into AI and have it write you a song. And some of them are okay, but there's no human connection.
Right.
And that's why people do it.
That's
why they like it.
That's the timelessness of it. That's why music has been, so much of it's like, how is this piece 150 years old? And because it meant something at a human level, even though the external parts of society may be different. It's a lot more similar than we want to admit.
Right.
And this person was going through a thing that we're probably going through 200 years later. And so it affects you in a certain way.
Right.
And
People are the same, basically.
Yeah.
And there are ways, there are people, there's scientists, musicologists, things like that explain to you, well, because of this chord structure and this and this and this text. And there are ways to kind of explain it. But for the most part, it's really kind of a mystery. Like, if you ever listen to a song the first time and you're playing along and a chord hits or a line hits and you're like, whoa.
Yep. Huge.
You can't bottle that. You
Yeah.
can't explain it necessarily. Like, why do you like this? Like, I don't know. I just really like it.
Yeah.
And it's extreme.
And that's great.
Like, why do you like this piece of music? Because it makes me like want to move around. I want to get up and walk around. Why do you like this piece of music? Because every time I hear it, I start crying.
Yeah.
What? Like that sounds. I mean, it sounds too extreme, but like that's why
It is
you
true,
like
though.
it.
Yeah.
And Jim
Yep,
and
if
I
you're in a
have had-
sad mood, or
and sometimes it's not even that it's sad. It's just that it gets you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim and I have been lucky that we've got a chance to tour in Europe with students and to bring music from the state of Minnesota to all these different places. And listen, we live in a time where we get to hear a lot about the differences between people. But at the end of the day, and we've seen it firsthand, people are kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know, and that's
interesting.
an important thing to, and just to realize or to experience, you know, that, like, you know what the European audiences love almost more than anything? The Stars and Stripes Forever.
Really?
Yeah, last summer
Band
we,
stuff, Stars and
yep.
Stripes, choir stuff, they love an American spiritual. Oh my gosh, and that's what they want.
Huh.
We were in 5 countries last summer. Every other year we bring kids. We were 380 people to 5 countries last year.
That's so cool.
It doesn't matter which
It's
country
insane,
it is.
but it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's crazy and I think they have a certain view of America. It's a
Yeah,
little bit
for sure.
skewed, and it's like, oh, they all, they watch
Sure.
Western.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a little bit old school, but
Yeah.
we have
McDonald's
this,
for
we have
breakfast
the
every
same
day.
issue when you think about them.
That's right.
But it is. I've conducted the Stars and Stripes a lot of different countries, across the world in a bunch of different areas. And it is crazy, like Switzerland specifically. For
Yes.
cruise.
Oh, they
It's-
love it.
I think if you did it 3 times in a row.
Really?
There's guys like in American flag hats.
Yeah,
that
and so
show
what's
up.
cool about that is for
Wow.
students too, as I talk about, here for the concerts, even with the Army Band, the audience is there to sit and watch and observe, either because they're parents, so they have to be, or they came to the show to whatever, right? But they're there. They don't know anybody.
Yep.
They're there to be entertained. So
Yep.
there's a little bit more entertainment concept with those concerts, but they're there to dance and move and sing and clap and whistle along.
Yep.
And stand up when you stand up and do else, and so it's
That's
a lot
so
of fun.
cool.
Yeah.
That part of music that isn't necessarily in the education world per se.
Yeah.
You can do things like dances or jazz nights and things like that. But for the most part, people wouldn't be there if their kid wasn't there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
These folks, it's just a Wednesday night.
That's
and they're
cool.
showing up.
Yeah, and they connect on something that you don't necessarily need to have that language to understand. I remember
Right.
when I was in high school, there was a foreign exchange student from Italy, and just on a whim was like, "Hey, tell me a joke in Italian," and he did. I had no idea what he said, but I laughed so hard. I was like, I don't know what that was, but it was hilarious. Because there's something about just like the general atmosphere,
Yeah.
of like, and in music, it's like that's what we get to do. Mm-hmm.
That's a
we
very-
get to choose our curriculum to a certain extent. There are standards, and there are things we need
Yeah,
to touch on,
yeah.
and there's things that you should work on, even if they're not like the kid's favorite, because it's like eating your vegetables. It's good for you.
Yep.
I say this. I also had ice cream for dinner last night because I'm an adult and I
Yeah,
can do that. But it's. We're super lucky. We're
You
very
guys have
fortunate
very
that
cool
we get to
jobs.
do that.
And there is the other side. People don't understand it. We have a curriculum. It's like the English department. They have text. Someone's decided somewhere that at this age
Yep.
you should read one of these 3. And so
Yeah.
we do stick to that. It's much less like I
it's
like
not
this
like a
song. Let me
free
do the
Right.
songs I
Oh,
like.
yeah, we're still like,
Yeah.
despite everything we put off, we're still professional.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, well, semi-professional.
I'm like legally an adult.
Well, before we wrap up, we have some rapid fire questions here for you guys. Mary, do you want to do them?
Can I add some?
Yeah, you definitely can.
No, I won't. I won't. Okay, so rapid fire. Just look at one of them.
You can both say.
Both say? Okay.
Just look
All
at
right.
one.
Ready?
So rapid.
Ready?
Yeah.
Sure.
Brass or woodwinds?
Brass, duh.
Brass.
God's instrument, tuba.
I also, I was a trumpet guy and a horn guy.
I like woodwinds
Percussion.
too.
I do like them too, yeah.
Oh, I bet. Okay, sopranos or basses?
Ooh. sopranos, but everybody loves a bass. Everybody loves that's a bass. There you go.
Good choirs have great sopranos. Great choirs have great basses.
Yes, they do. And yeah.
There's no
I
papa
will say
mama on a
this.
soprano
That's
line. I'm just
true.
throwing it out there.
I will. Yeah, it's yeah. They're also all the voice parts have different personality types too, which is kind of like the instrumentalists. They have a lot of different ones, but like you need them both, man.
Okay, rapid fire. Sopranos or basses?
Basses. It's a throat tuba.
I'll say sopranos just because you said
Wow.
basses.
Wow.
Okay.
I'll lie. Wait, what? Tenors.
He doesn't understand what
Tenors.
rapid means.
No, he
I don't
doesn't.
Okay,
Choir
marching
guys.
band or jazz band?
Marching band.
Yeah, marching band.
Yeah, for sure.
Get one. Okay, classical or
We
pop?
can't afford it. Classical.
Or pop, did you say?
Yeah.
Pop. Because I hate Charlie Moe.
Oh,
There's a lot of classical music and pop music.
There is.
Pop is a very wide...
That's a
very
range.
big,
It's a
yeah.
big range.
Okay, most overplayed piece of all time.
Pop and Circumstance.
Oh, yep, that's it. Yep, that's it. Right there. Yep. No change right
But
there.
again,
It's a good-
talking
it's
about the
perfect.
feeling, that song comes and you have a
Yeah.
grad.
Yes.
It's like
That's what I
just-
tell students.
That's why everyone does it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally works, and it's old. I tell students, when we play it, I don't know what it was this year, probably 10 repeats or something. So when you got the video camera going and the first grads walk through,
Yep.
that's the music in the background. If their student isn't going until the seventh time we've played it, it's every time you play it, it's the most important time you play it
Yes.
because that's the one time it's going to matter for that
Yes.
family. And so I
True.
tell students that, and then I say, and we'll do the same thing for you when you graduate.
That's
'cause
right.
You got to do this thing 3 times,
Yeah.
and then you get to walk.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless you're in Adam's class, then we won't do it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Have a drive-through. No,
Uh-huh.
man.
Yep.
Yep.
Which, I guess they didn't. I think we may have played it in the car or something. I don't know.
We had it on the speakers.
Wah.
We had it on the speakers.
Was it?
Just
Yeah,
like,
I
think
Rich had
it did
looped.
exist. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was there.
Yeah.
That was a weird time.
It was.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Pepsi.
Pepsi.
Ooh.
Wild cherry Pepsi.
That wasn't an option.
You know what?
I'll fight you.
She just has to ask rapidly. We can answer however we want.
Band or choir?
Choir.
Both are awesome.
Oh, you
And
son of a
students
gun.
should do both.
How dare you?
And students should do both because they
dare
both
you.
offer amazing things.
That is true. I will say ideally we would not have a class every other day because they'd be in the other class.
Yeah.
Because we share students.
Yep.
And
Students
this
get them-
idea that kids have with like, well, I really want to focus on one. That is that you should not do that.
Yeah.
The best musicians, period. And then ones like us too.
Yes.
Like, because I think you did a little choir.
I did.
Like we've done both. Mm-hmm. Like you do both.
People do both. They're like, "What's a big time commitment?" This stuff. You just pull
Not
the
really.
strengths from both.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
pull the best of both. And we, for you, I remember one year we had 6 all-staters, 3 in band, 3 in choir.
Yep.
All 6 were in both. It's
Yeah.
not a
Yes.
coincidence.
Right.
All
Exactly.
all the time.
So the answer is band. Okay, next.
Yeah. That's it.
Casserole or hot dish?
Hot dish.
Hot
duh.
dish.
Where do you think we are?
Oh my God.
Pop or
dare you.
soda?
I'm out.
Pop.
I didn't hear it.
Pop or soda?
Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could go on and on.
I know you could.
Go on and on. Go on and on.
All right. Well, we do have to wrap it up. So thank you so much, you guys, for being here. This was really fun.
Yeah, anytime you
We'll have
want
to
a
do it
really
again.
long podcast that just meanders and goes nowhere, you let
Ask
us know.
us.
We're very available.
Absolutely.
Well,
okay.
we could get 2 podcasts off of this.
But we probably
Maybe
could.
you should.
The very beginning when you didn't know we were
Yeah.
taping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That
was
could be-
taping.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do you
but
still-
it was.
Do you still use the jingle?
We haven't.
We use the jingle. We'll recondo.
Let's
we can
write a
redo
jingle
it.
for you.
Yeah.
I wrote a jingle.
He did. We
I
used it
wrote-
for.
yeah.
We used it for until just recently. We kind of changed the format a
You're
little
hoping it
bit.
gets popular now?
If I
Yeah.
well,
And all of a sudden,
this music is bad.
the views have just jumped since.
It's the
Yeah, I'm
Princeton
sure.
podcast. You'll love it. Like, Charlie, no, that's copyright.
oh, it's Princeton.
Podcast now.
Can't use that.
Do it.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, until next time, this is Kim and Mary signing off. This is Princeton.
Thanks
Stay
for having
here.
us.
Play here.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Boom.